I can still feel the heavy silence behind me when their car disappeared down the road. It wasn't just the sound of the engine fading, it was like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I stood there, frozen, the sun burning into my shoulders, while their laughter echoed like it belonged to another world. "Wait. Noah." I shouted, running without thinking, nearly tripping over the hot asphalt. But the more I ran, the more they seemed to enjoy it. His brothers were hanging out the windows, filming, yelling like I was part of some stupid challenge. That gas station looked like the end of the earth, a bathroom that smelled like mold, a fridge full of lukewarm water, and a dry wind kicking dust into my hair. My phone had died minutes earlier, and with it, the last thread of anything that felt safe. My bag was still on the back seat because Noah had asked, so sweetly, for just a bottle of water. He used that gentle voice he always used when he wanted something from me, and like always, I didn't think twice. I tried convincing myself it was just a prank. 5 minutes, then 15, then 40. At first, I kept smiling nervously, like someone pretending not to be scared. But that hope dried up with the heat of the day. When my phone took its last breath, it buzzed with a message, "Relax, babe. Just a joke. We'll come back." I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt empty, a kind of exhaustion that settles deep in the soul. The truth hit me slowly, like waking up from a nightmare unsure if you're really awake. I had forgiven his jokes, his comments that cut too deep, the moments when I swallowed my tears to keep the peace. But this was different. It wasn't carelessness. It wasn't humor. It was cruelty, pure, intentional cruelty. It was the silent confirmation of something I had been avoiding for far too long. I was alone, even when he was right beside me. And right there, in the middle of that forgotten parking lot, I felt it. The version of me he knew was fading. And the new version, the one who would finally rise, was just beginning to breathe. The only sound in that forgotten gas station was the rumble of a trucker filling up, completely indifferent to the chaos happening inside me. The road stretched in both directions like two choices: go back to the life that was slowly destroying me, or disappear for good. I looked around, hoping to find some sign of safety, a police station, a motel, anything, but all I saw was dust and silence. The clerk just shrugged when I explained what happened. "They'll come back," he said. But I knew they wouldn't. And for the first time, I also knew I didn't want them to. I had spent 5 years trying to fit into that family. 5 years cooking for them, helping with their parties, swallowing sarcastic comments disguised as jokes. I smiled to avoid tension, helped to avoid criticism, pretended everything was normal. The truth is, I had been shrinking myself over and over just to fit into the tiny space they allowed me. But there, in that hot parking lot, I finally realized I didn't have to carry any of their weight anymore. That's when a minivan pulled in, with a tired-looking woman behind the wheel and 2 restless kids in the back. I gathered what courage I had left and asked if she was heading north. She looked at me for a long, knowing 2 seconds, the kind where one woman recognizes another woman's breaking point, and simply said she could take me as far as she was going. I got into the car like someone climbing into a lifeboat. When I shut the door, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years, a faint chance at survival. The ride was quiet. I didn't have the strength to talk, and she didn't push me. I stared out the window, watching the miles slide by like someone else's escape story, not mine. I didn't cry. I didn't have any tears left. Every mile we drove felt like it was pulling another thread from the life I'd been trapped in, and strangely, that emptiness brought me peace. A hollow peace, but still peace. She dropped me off at a tiny bus station in a town I couldn't even pronounce. With the last breath of battery on my phone, I checked bus schedules and sent a message to someone I hadn't spoken to in almost a decade. "Aunt May, can I stay with you for a while? I don't have anywhere else to go." My finger trembled as I hit send. Her reply came almost instantly, "You can always come home." Those words hit me much harder than I was prepared for. I bought a one-way ticket. When I sat down on the bus, my hands trembled, not from fear, but from something dangerously close to freedom. As the bus pulled away, I watched the town shrink in the distance, then disappear completely. And that's when a simple, devastating truth finally surfaced. I wasn't just leaving Noah. I was freeing myself from everything I had learned to accept just to avoid being alone. Somewhere along that dark highway, everything became painfully clear. Noah never loved me. He loved the way I made him feel important. He loved having someone to show off when he needed to appear like a good husband, and someone to blame when he needed a villain. And his brothers only made everything worse, masters at turning my life into their inside joke. They called it pranking. I called it harm. And for years, I convinced myself the problem was me, until I finally understood that they were simply too cruel to see the damage they were doing. I always tried to laugh along. I tried to be the cool wife, the one who rolled her eyes and said, "Boys will be boys." But every laugh cost me a piece of myself. Every sarcastic comment, every cruel joke, felt like a cut I had to hide. After 3 years of marriage, I started saving money. Not because I had a concrete plan to leave, not yet. But something deep inside whispered, one day, you might need this. I stashed $10 here, $20 there. I opened a small account using my mother's maiden name, keeping it completely secret. Noah never noticed. He didn't care about financial details, never looked at statements, never asked questions. It was my secret, my tiny stash of freedom. And on that day at the gas station, when I realized he had truly left me there, I understood that all those years of quiet preparation were finally going to matter. When their truck disappeared around the corner and didn't come back, something inside me broke, but something else awakened. It wasn't just about the prank. It was every time I swallowed my hurt and smiled, every moment I accepted humiliation disguised as fun. I finally decided to use the money I had been quietly saving, not as immediate revenge, but as a ticket to my own survival. Marcy, the woman with the minivan, dropped me off in a small town 2 counties away. Before letting me go, she handed me a few snacks, a phone charger, and $10 just in case. I'll never forget the kindness in her eyes, the way she seemed to believe I needed to escape. A small gesture, but it gave me something I hadn't felt in years, trust in the world again. At the gas station, I bought a simple flip phone, cheap but working. I called my Aunt May, who I hadn't spoken to since my mother passed. She picked up on the second ring, as if she had been waiting for me, and didn't ask any unnecessary questions. She just gave me her address and said simply, "Come." Sometimes, life gives you people like that, quiet, steady, who help you take the first step. I used the rest of the money to buy a one-way bus ticket. Sitting on the hard seat, I felt each mile stretch away like a line being cut. I didn't know exactly what I would do when I arrived, only that I had to go. I needed silence, safety, a place where I could start over without fear. The whole ride was night and road. I stared out the window, watching the streetlights smear into streaks as my old life faded behind me. I thought about calling Noah, not to beg, not to argue, just to say something final, one last act of closure. But the words never came. Maybe because, finally, I realized there was nothing left to say. But then I imagined his brothers laughing in the background. I imagined them calling me dramatic. So I didn't call. And he didn't either. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. The silence was absolute, but it no longer felt oppressive, it carried a strange kind of relief. When I stepped off the bus the next morning, the air was fresh, a mix of salt from the sea and the scent of pine trees. Aunt May was waiting for me in her old blue pickup. She looked older than I remembered, but her hug was the same, safe, comforting. She didn't ask me any questions. She simply said, "Let's get you inside." For the first time in years, I felt like someone was on my side. I didn't have to prove anything. I didn't have to explain my exhaustion, my fear, my pain. I just had to be. That night, I took a long shower, scrubbing off the dust, the tears, and the years of pretending. As I wrapped myself in a towel and looked at my reflection in Aunt May's mirror, I made a promise to myself, "You're not going back, Lena. Not ever." It was the first time in a long while I felt a firm decision, my own decision, without fear or guilt. Aunt May's house sat on a quiet street, with chipped white picket fences and flower beds that looked like something out of an old movie. The smell of lemon polish and fresh bread filled every corner. Every object, every chair, every shelf made me feel warmth, safety, life. It was the opposite of everything I had left behind. Sleeping in that house felt like finally letting my body go. 2 whole days of uninterrupted sleep. I didn't even realize how exhausted I was, not just from the trip, but from years of constant tension, masking my feelings, trying to keep the peace. My body finally relaxed, with no need to brace for the next blow. When I woke up, Aunt May was sitting at the kitchen table, knitting as if no time had passed. She set a plate of eggs and toast in front of me and then handed me an envelope. Inside was a small pile of cash and a folded piece of paper with a name written on it, Lena Morgan. "My friend at the diner can help you," she said softly. "They don't ask many questions. Just tell them that's your name." I stared at the paper, feeling a mix of relief and strangeness. It was the first time in a long time that someone was taking care of me like this, without asking anything in return. My heart beat a little faster when I read the name on the paper. Morgan was my mother's maiden name. I hadn't heard it in years, but suddenly everything made sense. It felt like putting on a coat that had been hanging at the back of the closet, a familiar, warm, mine. That week, I started working at the diner. It was a small place near the water, with sticky menus and worn chairs, but the smell of coffee always felt comforting. The customers were kind, and the owner, Mrs. Carter, paid me in cash at the end of each shift. I mostly worked mornings, pouring coffee, taking orders, wiping tables. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me purpose and time to think. At night, I'd sit on the back porch with Aunt May, sipping sweet tea and watching the sun sink into the ocean. She never pushed me to talk, she just sat quietly beside me, knitting or softly humming old songs from the radio. Sometimes I thought about Noah, but not with longing, with confusion. How had I let that life chip away at me piece by piece? I hadn't just lost myself in that marriage. I had handed myself over completely. But there, in the simple routine of the diner and the safety of Aunt May's home, I felt myself reclaiming fragments of who I was, tiny pieces I thought were lost forever. A few weeks later, everything changed again. It was a slow Tuesday afternoon, the diner nearly empty. I was refilling the napkin holders when I heard the bell above the door jingle. A man stumbled in, tall, rough around the edges, soaked in blood. For a moment, I thought it was a prank. My whole body tensed, but then I saw his eyes, wild, pained, real. "Help," he gasped before collapsing near the counter. Time seemed to stop. My instincts kicked in. I rushed to him, checked his pulse, grabbed a towel, and pressed it against the wound in his side. Mrs. Carter called 911 while I stayed by his side, whispering, "You're going to be okay. Just hold on a little longer." The ambulance arrived quickly. They began treating him right there on the diner floor. Before they wheeled him out, he grabbed my wrist and looked straight into my eyes. "Thank you," he said, his voice raspy. His name was Ethan. That was all I knew. I didn't expect to see him again, but a few days later he returned, limping, bruised, but standing. He asked for coffee. Then he asked my name. "Lena," I said cautiously. He smiled. "Thank you for saving my life, Lena." After that, he began coming in every few days. Always sitting in the same booth, near the window. Sometimes he'd read the newspaper. Sometimes he'd just stare out at the ocean. And, without realizing it, Ethan became a steady part of my routine, a quiet but constant presence reminding me that life could offer real connection, even after so much abandonment and pain. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was beginning to feel like I could truly live again. He didn't talk much at first, but when he did, he was different from any man I'd known. He didn't interrupt. He didn't make jokes at my expense. He didn't need to be the center of attention. He listened, really listened. It felt strange, new. I didn't know who he really was or what had happened to him, but one thing was clear, he was running from something too. Maybe that was why I didn't feel so alone anymore. By the time autumn arrived, Ethan had become a part of my world. He never said much about his past, and I never asked. There was an unspoken understanding between us. I wouldn't ask where he came from, and he wouldn't ask who I used to be. We just existed in the now. Quiet mornings, hot coffee, glances that lingered a little too long. Still, there were moments when I caught him staring out the window with a look that made my chest tighten, as if he were remembering something painful, preparing for it to come back. One evening, a storm rolled in. Thick gray clouds, sheets of rain. The diner closed early, and I walked home with my coat pulled tight. When I reached Aunt May's porch, I saw a figure sitting on the steps. It was Ethan. He was drenched. His hair clung to his forehead, his hands buried in his jacket pockets. When he looked up at me, I saw something raw in his eyes. "I didn't know where else to go," he said. I nodded and opened the door. Aunt May wasn't home. She had gone to her church group and wouldn't be back until morning. "Come inside," I said. He hesitated for a moment, then followed. I gave him a towel and made some tea. We sat at the kitchen table while the storm rattled the windows. For a while, we just listened to the rain. Then he spoke. "I used to be a detective," he said, his voice low. "The big city narcotics division got too close to something I wasn't supposed to. My partner was on the payroll, dirty, set me up, got me shot, left me for dead." I stared at him, unsure of what to say. "They covered it up." He continued, saying it was a drug deal gone wrong. I knew better. He survived, but he lost everything: his badge, his apartment, his identity. He looked at me like he was waiting to see if I would run. I didn't. Instead, I said, "Sounds like you needed to get away." He nodded. "Yeah, I just wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere no one would find me." We didn't talk about it after that. We just sat there, drinking tea, while the storm howled outside. That night, he slept on the couch. I brought him a blanket and pillow. When I turned to leave, he gently touched my hand. "Thank you, Lena, for everything." I went to bed with my heart racing. Over the next few weeks, Ethan kept coming, not just to the diner, but to the house too, becoming a quiet, steady part of my life, unexpectedly safe and familiar. Ethan began showing up more and more, without warning, without promises. He would come to fix the porch railing, carry groceries, sweep the fallen leaves in Aunt May's yard. He never made it feel like a favor. He just showed up. Quiet. Steady. Present. As if, somehow, this house was his responsibility to protect too. Until one day, I came home from work and the front door was wide open. My chest sank. Aunt May wasn't home. I stepped inside slowly, heart pounding in my ears. The living room looked untouched, but in the kitchen, one of the drawers was open. The one where she kept some cash. Nothing else seemed missing. Still, I knew someone had been there. I called Ethan with trembling hands. He arrived fast, too fast to be a coincidence. He checked the locks, walked around the property, scanned every corner as if piecing together a puzzle I couldn't see. "This isn't random," he muttered. "Someone's watching." "Me?" I asked. He didn't answer. And that silence scared me more than any word could have. After that, he started staying closer. He replaced the locks, installed a small camera over the porch, left a flashlight by the side table as if the night could suddenly turn against us. He seemed calm, but I could sense his mind running 1,000 steps ahead. At night, I began sleeping with the light on. The house was safe, but no longer peaceful. Aunt May didn't say much. But one afternoon, while folding laundry, she looked at me as if speaking to something deeper than words. "Sometimes the people we run from don't chase us because they want us back, they chase us because they lost control." I didn't respond. I just felt her words sink into my bones, a truth I wasn't ready to face. Somewhere, Noah still existed. And his brothers too. Maybe they were still laughing about the day they left me behind. But something had shifted inside me. I was no longer afraid of them. I was afraid of what they might try when they realized I wasn't afraid anymore. Nearly 5 years without hearing his voice. And then, when I opened the door and saw him there, time seemed to fold in on itself. He looked different, thinner, older, his eyes shadowed. He raised his hands slowly, like he didn't want to scare a wounded animal. "Lena, please. We need to talk." Before I could react, I felt someone behind me. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between Noah and me with a cutting calm. "Who are you?" he asked, firm. And for the first time, I wasn't alone between the past and the open door. Noah blinked, clearly caught off guard. I'm her husband." Those words hit me like a slap. Husband. As if that still meant anything. As if 5 years of silence hadn't happened. As if he hadn't left me stranded in the middle of nowhere for a laugh. I took a deep breath, stepping out from behind Ethan, my voice steady. "I'm not your wife." Noah's eyes darted between us. "Lena, please, just give me 5 minutes." I looked at Ethan. He didn't say a word, just gave a slight nod. I stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind me, leaving Ethan inside, calm and vigilant. The wind carried the smell of sea salt and rain-soaked leaves. Noah shoved his hands into his jacket pockets and stared at the ground for a long moment before speaking. "I've been looking for you," he said, his voice low. "Since the video." "What video?" I asked, flat. He looked up, almost embarrassed. "Brad and Chase, they started a podcast last year, just messing around, telling stories. One day, they talked about what they did to you at the gas station. They thought it was hilarious." I stared at him, expressionless. "It went viral," he continued. "People were outraged. I didn't even know they were going to share it. And when I saw the clip, something inside me snapped," he said. "You left?" I asked quietly. He looked down. "I left them. Got out of the business. I've been trying to fix my life. I've been trying to find you for over a year. Why now?" He took a deep breath. "Because I couldn't carry it anymore. What I did, what they did, it haunts me." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But his regret had come 5 years too late. "You thought it was funny," I said, firmly. "You all laughed." "I know," he whispered. "I was stupid. I didn't see what I was doing to you until it was too late. You didn't come back." I looked at him, steady. He seemed pained. "I thought you were just angry. I thought you'd cool off and come home." I was angry, but I wasn't waiting. I left. I saved myself, because none of you ever would. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. "I just needed you to hear me out." Behind us, I heard the front door open. Ethan stepped onto the porch and came to my side, calm, steady, protective. Noah looked at him, puzzled. "Who is he?" I didn't hesitate. "My fiancé." Noah's jaw clenched. Ethan didn't say a word, but his presence said everything. I turned back to Noah. "You didn't just lose me because of one prank. You lost me because you never really saw me." Noah opened his mouth, then closed it. Silence. The truth had been spoken. When Noah finally dropped his shoulders, it was like the weight of everything he had lost settled on him all at once. He nodded slowly, not lifting his eyes. "I guess. I deserved that." "You did," I said softly. There was no anger in me. Only truth. He took a few steps down the path before stopping. Without looking back, he murmured, almost to the wind, "For what it's worth. I'm glad you're okay." And then he walked into the gray mist of the street, swallowed by the fog as if he had never been part of my life. I stood there in silence, watching the space he left, and for the first time, that space didn't hurt. Ethan gently placed his hand on my back, his calm, steady presence grounding me. "You all right?" I nodded. And I was. I didn't feel broken. I wasn't shaken. I just felt free. The next day, I sat on the back porch with a cup of tea and too many thoughts racing through my head. He had really been here. After 5 years, he had tracked me down and stood on the very porch where I had rebuilt my life. And now, I had to face what I had worked so hard to avoid, the final goodbye I never said out loud. That afternoon, he returned. Slower this time. No demands, no pleading, just a quiet knock and eyes that hadn't slept. I opened the door. He stayed on the porch. "I'm not here to argue," he said. "I just need to understand what happened after I left you there." So I told him. Not everything. Not the new name. Not the fear. Not the nights I cried into Aunt May's sweater. But I told him what mattered. How I waited for hours in the sun. How I realized I didn't want to be found anymore. How I used the money I had been secretly saving, money he never knew existed, to buy a bus ticket and vanish. "How long were you planning to leave?" he asked, voice faltering. "I wasn't," I said. But when it happened, I realized that abandonment was the door I had been waiting for. I just didn't know it until you slammed it behind you. He looked like he wanted to cry. "I thought you were just being dramatic." I didn't know. "No," I interrupted. "That's the thing. You never knew. I tried to tell you how your brothers made me feel. I tried to tell you how exhausted I was. But every time you told me to chill out or take a joke, and when I couldn't laugh, I became the problem." He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly. "What happened to Aunt May?" he asked. I swallowed. "She passed away last year." His face twitched. "I'm sorry." "She saved me," I said simply. Aunt May didn't need an explanation. She just opened the door. There was a long pause. "I saw the way that man looks at you," Noah said quietly. "He's not just your fiancé. He's someone else, someone who showed up when you had no one." Noah closed his eyes. "I deserve that." "You do," I replied, firm. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photo. It was a picture of us from our honeymoon. I barely recognized the woman in it. Hopeful. Tired, but hopeful. He held it out. I didn't take it. "I'm not that girl anymore," I said softly. "And you're not that man. We've both changed, but only one of us learned from it." His voice cracked. "I'll regret it for the rest of my life." "You should," I replied. Just then, the door creaked open. Ethan stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag, not seeking drama, just standing beside me like he always did. Noah glanced at him, then back at me. "He's lucky." "So am I," I said. Ethan simply nodded, calm and protective. No more words. No more pleading. Noah turned and walked down the path, shoulders low, hands in his pockets. He didn't come back the next day, or the day after. Something told me he wouldn't again. That night, I sat on the porch with Ethan. He handed me a warm mug and gently squeezed my hand. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. I needed to say it out loud, look him in the eye, and show him he didn't win. He didn't. I leaned into his shoulder. "You know the worst part?" "What?" He still doesn't understand that it wasn't the prank that broke us. It was everything that came before, and the silence that followed. Ethan kissed the top of my head. "Then he never really knew you." "No," I whispered. "But you do." For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of being found, because I had already found myself. 5 years ago, I stood at a gas station, dust in my shoes, no money in my pocket, and no one looking for me. Now, I stood in a courthouse hallway, wearing a navy blue blazer and holding Ethan's hand. Reporters whispered at the end of the corridor, cameras already snapping photos from a distance. I had dreaded this moment, but now that it was here, I felt something unexpected: peace. Inside the courtroom, Derek and Logan sat at the defense table in matching suits that couldn't hide their nervous energy. They looked smaller somehow, and the difference between us was clear. They weren't hurt, not physically. But they looked small. Pathetic. The swagger was gone. No smug smiles. No hidden cameras in hand. No sense of spectacle. Derek and Logan sat at the defense table like boys who finally realized their joke had gone too far, and there was no undoing it. Their last prank had been fatal. They had destroyed a young woman's reputation at work, rigging everything with hidden cameras, humiliating traps, fake eviction notices, and shaving cream explosions. All for clicks. But this time, the laughter turned into sirens. She had a seizure at work. Nearly died. And the audience that once idolized them turned their backs without mercy. That's what brought them here. Noah sat behind them, silent. He didn't lift his head. He looked like a man unraveling, caught between shame and helplessness. When my eyes met his as I entered the courtroom, I felt for a moment like he might stand. Then he saw Ethan at my side. Calm. Solid. Mine. Noah simply froze. I took the witness stand not for revenge, but for truth. The lawyer asked me to recount the gas station prank, the one that had launched the brothers' viral fame before their fall. I spoke about the dust on my shoes, the sun burning my skin, the hours I waited, the cold messages, the abandonment. But I told more than that. I told what doesn't appear in videos. The sleepless nights. The silent panic. The sense that the world had become unsafe. I explained how the joke doesn't end when the video ends, it keeps living inside the person. The courtroom was silent when I finished. Even the judge took a moment. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Logan wouldn't meet my eyes. And Noah looked like he wanted to disappear. When it was over, I stepped out into the bright sunlight. Reporters rushed forward, voices mingling, cameras flashing. I ignored them all. Then I heard my name. Lena. I turned. Noah took a deep breath, hands awkward, unsure what to do. I don't know what I thought would happen. I do, I said calmly. You thought I'd still be waiting. He tried to argue, but no words came out. You didn't come back for hours, I continued. Not that day. Not the next. Not ever. His hands trembled. You say you regret it. But it's not for me. It's for what you lost. The words hit like a blade. He swallowed hard. I didn't leave you because of a prank, I finished. I left because it showed me the truth. I never mattered the way I deserved. He looked away, almost whispering, and him? His eyes shifted toward Ethan, standing on the courthouse steps, waiting for me, calm, steady, without pressure. Without fear. Him? I repeated, a small smile forming. He didn't find me when I was whole. He found me when I was broken. And he never once tried to fix me. He just stood beside me while I healed myself. Noah's eyes filled with tears. Do you still hate me? He asked. I don't hate you, I said honestly. I just don't belong to you anymore. And with that, I turned. I walked away from him without looking back. Ethan met me halfway, slipping his hand into mine like it had always belonged there. You okay? He asked. I nodded. I had said everything I needed to say. We walked together through the crowd and down the courthouse steps. The press shouted questions, but their voices faded behind us. The wind brushed through my hair, and the sun warmed my face. I didn't need to hide anymore. I didn't need to explain myself or justify the life I had built. Noah stood at the top of the stairs, watching us alone. The same way I had once stood on the side of a road, watching him disappear. Only this time, I wasn't the one left behind. I was the one walking forward.